In 3,
Let's go.
2, 1. Welcome back, everybody. Oh, my mouth isn't moving. To another episode.
Oh, there you are.
Of Saved
Save. Nice.
Beyond the Headset. I am your co-host, Rick.
And I am one of your other co-hosts, Jones.
We're gonna do what we do maybe best, maybe second best. I don't know.
Definitely up there.
Which is talk about futuristic news. There's probably not anyone better than us.
Yeah,
at this
realistically.
Stuff, but who knows? But yeah, we got stories in Web3 and VR today, and some AR. A little bit of everything. Taking a break from the AI wars, unless you have a story I don't know about.
I mean, maybe some little tidbits that we can talk about in a sec.
Okay. I'm happy to talk about it more. So.
Okay, cool. All right. Do you want to kick things off? Do you want me to kick things off? What are you? How you feeling?
I don't know, dude.
All right, let me rip it. I'll get mine out of the way. So, I am coming to y'all live from ETHDenver today. I'm always actually coming to you live from Denver, but today is different because it's ETHDenver, which is one of the biggest crypto conferences that exists in the Web3 space, and it's exciting. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know, it's kind of bear market vibes a little bit in the overall space, but you would not get that from this. I went there last year, and the venue this year is probably 30 times the size. It's enormous. And you got so many companies innovating, so many different booths. The energy is high. It's electric. So many different builders. It's just exciting. I have not been in that energy in a sec, and it's just very cool to see so many builders gathering together in this build season. No one's talking about the bear market vibes. Everyone's just building for the future, building the future they want to see, and it's exciting. I wasn't really sure what to expect, but makes me more and more bullish on where we're headed as a space. All these smart minds gathering together. So, don't really have anything specific news-wise other than that. It's just got me excited about the future of Web3 and all these people coming together, feeling optimistic about the future.
Well, I guess let me ask you, what have you seen there? Are there any specific companies or technologies that have been displayed there?
Yeah, great question. So one of the I guess most prevalent innovations people are talking about right now is ZK, zero knowledge proofs. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Not at all.
Right, okay. I also technically am not very good at this, but basically, I mean, there's zero knowledge proofs, and then there's also the ZK rollups, which, you know how we're talking about layer 2s a lot?
Yeah.
So basically, ZK is another way to process rollups that I think is more efficient. There's better privacy. Honestly, not totally sure exactly the value, but that is one of the main things going on right now is a bunch of ZK stuff. And then just in general, there's just so many people building so many things. You walk through this venue, it's enormous, and there's just a million booths of people giving, cool talks. Also, I listened to a talk recently about MetaMask and their implementation into the Unity SDK, which seemed pretty cool. I know,
nice.
I sent you that tweet. I haven't really looked too much into it, but that seems like a great path forward into the gaming space. So I think overall, people are just excited about, I'd say overall, I think there's a lot of excitement about the Ethereum ecosystem, about the layer 2s popping up, about all the stuff you can do there. I mean, granted, it's ETHDenver, so there's a lot of Ethereum stuff going on here, but that seems to be some of the consensus is that there's, a lot of cool stuff happening in the Ethereum ecosystem.
So it sounds like Deep Winter, it's still alive and well. People are pumped and building.
Alive and well, and I've been volunteering too, so I've been... There's a whole kind of hackathon thing going on, so I've been kind of monitoring that all week, and just a ton of people building stuff. Just very, like I said, just super optimistic builders building for the future, not worried about price of anything or whatever. So it's just good stuff. But yeah, I mean, I guess, again, not too many specifics other than overall, it's got me feeling, hyped, continued hype about the Web3 stuff.
Well, so one of your predictions beginning of the year is that this year would still be a build year for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. Do you think 2024 is a rebound year?
Ooh.
Do you think it's a slow rebound or like another gold dash, like gold rush like last time?
It's a great question. So it's kind of like, this is my first bear cycle. It's kind of interesting talking with some of the people who have been in multiple of these cycles, because you said this before too about how it seems like there's always one catalyst that starts off the next bull. And so you had like DeFi summer with a bunch of ICOs, and then you had the NFT boom, all of that stuff. And you have people building here. And so I know we talked about this before about what will be the catalyst for the next bull run. And my answer to that was kind of just the fact that you have a lot of these Web2 brands kind of silently using this in the back end. Mm-hmm. And it does kind of feel like that. But I guess one thing that's interesting is that if they're silently using these things as, you know, their database architecture or whatever, does that trigger the same amount of hype as the pictures of monkey JPEGs or of the, you know, shit coins that go up crazy value?
Yeah.
Or is it because it's too fundamental, it almost, the hype, you don't get the same hype cycle? I don't know. It will be interesting.
I feel like ideally you avoid the hype cycles of the prior bull runs, and you just, rather than have a hype cycle, you just have people adopt it. Yeah. Like, just adoption numbers is far more important than like news headlines, I feel like. So if you have Spotify and Amazon building out, and then maybe next run you don't drive up Bored Ape prices to like $1 million, but like you suddenly have a substantial normie population like myself actually using it. Mm-hmm. I feel like that would probably be better for things in the long run anyways.
Yeah, totally. And I guess maybe it would also, maybe you wouldn't have such sky high prices, but you would also not have so much volatility, and it might attract more risk averse people to the space because things are starting to level out a little bit more. Yeah.
That seems like the one other thing that the crypto space has, I don't know if it needs it, but the volatility component just, it makes it, I don't know, it's stressful. I feel like you always got to be on top of things.
Yeah, you basically
it's a deterrent definitely for a lot of people, unless you're like really in. It feels like you got to be all in or you got to be all out.
Yeah, and yeah, almost two ways to be all in. One is basically monitoring it every day as like an active trader, or two, you just put it in and you completely forget about it because you believe in the long-term fundamentals, and then you don't ever even look at any of the prices or anything. And I've kind of started to be in that second camp. But when I first started, I wasn't even trading, but I was more in that like looking at price every day, and it's mentally draining for sure.
Yeah, I don't have really anything invested in the space, but like a while ago, that first bull run, I got caught. Like everyone at my office was like, "Oh, did you get crypto or ETH?" And I was like, "Okay, fine, I'll put $100 into it."
Yeah,
and it was just $100, but it was like 20 times a day I was checking the price, and eventually I was like, okay, you know what, F it, I'm selling. I can't do this.
I don't know, it's so funny, and all those apps send you notifications every day about like
I know,
every
it's
hour.
like, oh, it went up like 500%. Oh, now it's down another 500. It's like, what the
I know, you had to turn those off ASAP, but so you kind of got to just put it in high conviction, not look at it all. And it seems like that's what I think that's what excites me about all these people at this space is like no one's talking about. I'm volunteering, so I've had a ton of conversations. Not a single one has been about the price, which is super cool. It's all about just the tech and what people are building and stuff like that, which I definitely really appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like ideally the price isn't really what matters. It's like the actual...
Yeah, the underlying use case, 100%.
I mean, obviously you want to make money from it, but...
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, so that's that one, and it can be kind of a relatively quick one because I'm struggling a little bit making it through this whole conference. But so yeah, exciting stuff. The hype is keeping me going throughout this conference. So, but what you said there's some exciting VR stuff going on?
Yeah, there's a lot coming out of Meta. They have, I mean, obviously we've talked a lot about the volatility of Meta over the last year. And so they kind of released an internal roadmap presentation for the whole company, just on what's next. And there's a lot of changes internally. There's canceled headsets, there's new headsets, there's strategy shifts, there's a lot. So I'll try and get some of the like most important things. For starters, they're gearing up for the Quest 3. I'm definitely going to be wrong on my prediction. It's probably coming out this year. But it's looking to be more expensive than the Quest 2. But as a caveat to that, they now are planning a cheaper headset for next year, which is interesting because the Quest was supposed to be a consumer-friendly one. But I think once you get up to the $400 or $500 range, it gets a little tougher to justify.
Yeah.
So they're going to release one that maybe doesn't have controllers so they can cut down on costs, maybe is a little bit less powerful.
Okay.
But
And will it still be
more
part of the
consumer
Quest
friendly.
line or a brand new product?
Yeah, if I had to guess, it would be like a Quest Lite.
Okay.
And there's been rumors that they were considering selling a version without controllers to make it cheaper so that you just use hand tracking.
Mm-hmm.
My prediction would be that they do that and also kind of like cheap out on the specs of it a tiny bit and get it down to the 250, 300 range, which is what the Quest originally started at.
Yeah. That's probably a good move just to get people in because, I mean, as long as it's not the worst, it's kind of like the average consumer probably doesn't care too much about, you know, the 360 view or like all those higher level specs that you could maybe get to if you become an enthusiast because you've been onboarded through a cheaper version.
Yeah. I mean, they've released some of their reasoning too, and it's the latest batch of Christmas sales. They always have a huge Christmas boom, and they had another big one this past Christmas, but they noticed that retention is significantly lower with the newest generation of buyers. So they're trying to focus the Quest 3 on software and retention. So one of the things they talked about that I thought was interesting was they're going really hard on the mixed reality component. Okay. And they're going to have a bunch of features like you can place anchors within your home, and you can much more seamlessly switch between mixed reality and virtual reality, so that if you're playing a game and you're like, I got to run to the bathroom, you just walk out of your play space and it'll show you where in the house you need to go. It'll switch to mixed reality so you can see where you're going. Basically, like, you don't need to take the headset on and off and on and off.
Oh, interesting.
Which is going to be a nice feature. Yeah. I also, so many of the studios they bought have been kind of in build mode since they bought them. People have been expecting games for a while. I think at this point, they're not coming for the Quest 2. I think they're going to have a big slew of announcements of new games for the Quest 3 would be my guess. If they don't, that's an issue. But they've bought too many studios to not have that sort of uptake. Yeah, but then... do you have a question?
Well, I was just going to say the retention thing's really interesting. Because that's basically all comes down to software on it, right? Just if they have a killer application or not, or
kind of. I mean, it's software and it's hard. Like, I don't know. These things aren't that comfortable. They're more comfortable than older headsets, but they're still. But yeah, I guess the difference between the prior generation and this generation might be that the software is a little older. It's more played out. They've seen a million videos. I've also personally noticed the operating system has gotten worse over the last year.
Really?
And I've seen other people echo that, where it's buggier. It takes longer to find your controllers. It takes a while to boot up. I've had plenty of issues with mine, so
it's glitched basically every time I've tried to boot my thing up.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty common experience, and it feels like that didn't used to be as significant as of an issue for me and for other people.
Do you think it's a thing like how you hear with the Apple products where they're almost made to deteriorate over time so that you buy a new one?
I mean, I'm sure that's true. That's kind of true of like most hardware these days, is especially with the battery life gets significantly worse and worse over time. Like, I'm sure, I haven't really tested my headset's battery, but I'm sure it's like I've lost a solid hour of playtime when it's not hooked up to something. So that could be it, but it seems to be people are noticing like they update and they add all these new features, but then all of a sudden it's like buggier and slower, and it could just be a software quality issue.
The retention thing is so interesting. Just after building a product that I'm building right now and trying not to just throw a ton of features on, hoping that one works, but like trying to find that core one. And to your point that you talked about in a very early episode about how me and your other friend who you'd got on thought it was cool and then threw it in the closet and never used it again. And so it really is, what is it going to take? We've talked about this in some future episodes, but that must be a wild division to try to be thinking about that retention metric.
Yeah, I think it seems like from these leaks they're really focused on that, because a few of the other changes I was going to talk about was they jacked up the price of the Quest, and then just recently they undid that because they're not selling enough, so they're bringing prices down. They dropped the price of the Quest Pro, which got not great reviews, and I'm guessing sold very well, or very poorly, sorry. They dropped the price of it, and they canceled internally their plans for the Quest Pro 2. So they're really just focusing now on like making it as consumer friendly as possible. And I think it's a good sign that they're really honing in on mixed reality features to make it more comfortable, more seamless. Because I think that's one of the biggest issues. When I put on the headset, you wait for like things to boot up, and then you wait for it to, you have to set up the Guardian almost every time, or the Guardian's kind of buggy and slow. It's just annoying. And as someone who's like a VR enthusiast, I would use it a lot more if there wasn't so much friction to it. But there just is. Yeah, exactly. It's just all these little things that I think they can fix fairly easily. I think they also need to focus on that because the Apple headset's coming out. And if there's one thing I would trust Apple to do, it would be to make it like the most effortless thing possible outside of maybe the comfort of it, which is inevitably going to be a little bit of a nuisance with the headsets these days. But I feel like Apple's going to be very focused on like mixed reality, comfort, ease of use features that Meta's going to want to keep up with that when the Quest 3 drops, and then the Apple headset drops.
To check out the Apple one and just catch the vibe. Have you ever been to a VR conference or anything like that?
I haven't. There's some stuff. Sometimes it's kind of tied in with the gaming industry, and then there's a few like very business oriented ones. There's kind of like a business networking group for virtual reality and augmented reality that hosts conferences where like big name companies will go and talk about how they used it in their training or in a medical procedure or like all this stuff. It's definitely less focused on like the gaming creative side and more on like the B2B training, more like industrial use cases for it.
Question.
But it's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. And on that note, question, I was just thinking, for Horizon Worlds, is the only way you can access it through a Quest? Or can you do PC?
So yes, you can only access it through PC, but they're apparently working on a phone app.
Quest,
and
you mean?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Only Quest accessible right now, but apparently by mid-year they should have a phone app and something you can play on your laptop or PC.
Gotcha. Because that, I think, is really interesting about the Horizon Worlds, which I kind of don't think about as much, but if it is only accessible through Quest, and sitting here in this is kind of annoying to be doing, that's and just price prohibitive also. Yeah,
I'm gonna be interested to see what the numbers look like for Horizon Worlds when the mobile app comes out, because obviously games like Roblox are just smash hits, like hundreds of millions of users. And obviously the market is so much smaller in VR that like Horizon Worlds can't have that big of a, even if it was successful, the number of users wouldn't be that large. So I think it'll be really telling if they drop a phone app and it still stinks and no one downloads it. But for now it's kind of tough to tell because it's like it's only available on the Quest and there are better options already. There's like Rec Room and VR chat.
That's where it gets kind of, because I mean with the Quest and Horizon Worlds, it is kind of, it's somewhat of a differentiator, like somewhat unique. I mean, there is VR chat, but still there's not as much competition. I feel like that's really heavily adopted. So Meta has the opportunity to like onboard normies into the space. But for a computer and phone game, I mean, they would basically be directly competing against Roblox, against Minecraft, right? So
also, Roblox is apparently coming out for the Quest soon. Quest 3 is the expectation. Really? So
that's really interesting. That feels like one of the best potentials for onboarding that I've heard so far.
Yeah, I'm sure Meta, I mean, obviously Horizons is kind of a competitor to Roblox, but if I'm Meta, I want Roblox on my platform just to get the number of people on the platform way up, because that's going to sell, that's going to massively move headsets.
Yeah, it feels like it's a rising
for like kids too. The more kids you get in the ecosystem, the more adults 20 years from now who will be VR users that
100%.
I don't know.
Yeah, rising tide lifts all ships. Is that they? But yeah, if you get more people in the headset, then for headset native apps, it will be. That's huge. Roblox on the headset. Wow.
It's not officially confirmed, but they've been like hinting at it for a while, and there's been leaks. So
very interesting.
Just fairly confident.
Got you.
But yeah, so like kind of good news, bad news. Like clearly things aren't going well for Meta, but I kind of like some of the things that they talked about here. So I think the outlook it's not all bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, focusing on more consumer friendly, that seems to be what they should do. I guess
way more ads, which that's a negative, but whatever.
Yeah.
The quote was something like
deliver on it.
Okay, one more announcement, because they're talking about AR. They're working on AR glasses. They're aiming for 2027. Yeah.
Gotcha.
They're aiming for 2027 for full AR glasses, which I think seems still too soon.
Yeah, because I remember you saying that about Apple.
I mean, I said late 2020s, but like, I don't know. It's just that's only 4 years away.
I know.
And the technology still just isn't that close to being consumer ready, so I'm skeptical.
Yeah, we shall
see. But
see.
they talked about they're excited about that for their ads business because they can show ads in 3D space, and I'm like, oh, like yeah, I'm sure that is cool for them, but just the thought of them plastering ads all over like the home world and everything
that's
a little sad.
Fairly dystopian for sure. Got you. Cool. Well, I guess my only AI thing is a smaller thing, but it looks like ChatGPT just launched their API, which is pretty huge. Because
I saw that.
Yeah, because I was using the API of the GPT-3, which they had on OpenAI, but the ChatGPT one is miles ahead. They're calling it basically like GPT 3.5. So the fact that API now is live is huge. And I think, this may be wrong because I only skimmed over the article, but that it's potentially cheaper than the existing API was. So you're going to see this shit everywhere.
I saw that it was like surprisingly cheap, which is, I'm just so excited to see what people do with it.
Yeah, I think it was,
on its own, it's very cool, but like people are going to come up with cool ways.
It was like 750 words for 0.001 of a dollar or something, which is insane. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's so tough to tell with those prices because the way they scale is just insane. I've been doing some like cloud development stuff with Amazon Web Services, and it's like all the pricing is like 0.00001 penny per this amount of data, this length of time running a program, and it's like that scales to be way more expensive than you think. But I have heard that ChatGPT is like very fairly priced, like not expensive.
I know. Dude, it's going to be wild seeing all these things pop up. I mean, they already are, but the fact that now you can have ChatGPT integration is insane. And then I'm very interested to see the next generation of AI companies and what sets them apart. Like, is it going to be, what's their moat going to be? Is it just going to be their marketing, branding, community? Is it going to be that the AI is just kind of a side enabler for the core product? What is it going to be? Because you're going to see so many of these competing things, because you could literally just make a front end, integrate ChatGPT, and make a product for literally anything. Like, that's kind of like
I've had a tough time visualizing what sort of AI companies will pop up too. It's just
so I saw
how central will it be versus like, is it a little helper thing? Because it still has like reliability issues to an extent. So it's like, how deeply can you make your product tied to it?
So I saw an interesting one recently. It was on Twitter, and it was from a YC person that was a recent YC. I think it was this winter, and they were building an AI nutritionist. So someone you can ask questions for, they learn your diet, etc. But I was honestly just surprised that was a YC thing, because it seems like you, as a developer, could whip that up in like a weekend, and it would basically be the same application, unless they have some fine-tuning they're doing on the model that I don't know about. It just seems the barrier to entry to make these things is so low now that but maybe their differentiator is their marketing, their branding, maybe their first to market, something like that. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, when these things pop up, even the most elite venture firms throw money at a lot of ideas that seem stupid, but like they got the money, they don't give a shit. They'll just throw it at whatever exciting new AI company, and they just need one of them to pop off.
Yeah.
But maybe to the nutritionist person's credit, it could be way more complicated than we realize. I'm sure there has to be. I don't know. I feel like it would be more complicated just in that you can't just like have the website be something where you ask questions to ChatGPT. It has to be like, I don't know how you hone in on only nutrition related things and have the answers be.
Well, I guess that's an interesting thing to me. I need to do more research on it, but if you use it feels like you could use ChatGPT right now on the ChatGPT website as a nutritionist.
Yeah. I wonder if though, because I mean, OpenAI themselves are putting constraints on ChatGPT, so maybe part of the API is you can really cut down on the amount of content that it can do and have it solely be focused on something where you fine tune it.
Oh, that's
that would
interesting.
kind of make sense to me.
Yeah, and so if you tried to ask it a different question, it would actually be way worse than ChatGPT, but its specialty is the thing. Yeah,
or maybe like you don't even get to ask it questions. You just like input your daily routine and calories and food you eat, and then it comes up with I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like the fine-tuning thing is huge. And I also heard something that I'm pretty sure OpenAI is just helping with all of this. I'm pretty sure on their website now it's easier to even fine-tune things, and that you can just, it's kind of helping you. It's just helping move innovation along, which is
when I worked on that thing with you, their API was so simple to use. It was crazy.
Exactly.
I was shocked because I was like, AI is just so complicated that I kind of avoided it in my degree just because it's so like math heavy and everything, and I didn't have a background in like the really intense stuff. But they completely abstracted all that stuff away. So like really simple developers can just hop in there and make something.
Totally. And to put it in concrete terms for anyone listening, I, as a person who's not that technical in building in no code, I have been unsuccessful at any API I've tried. I've tried like Zapier, Twilio, all the stuff I've needed external help. The only one I've been able to figure out is the OpenAI one, which like you think would be the most confusing, but it's so easy.
Totally would think that's the worst one.
It's so cool.
Yeah,
I mean, but that's not anything in depth. Like I'm not fine tuning the model. I'm not doing anything like that, but just integrating with the
but when I worked on that thing with you, the fine tuning was not difficult. Yeah. I'm not like I think it helped that I was a programmer, but like I'm not that good of a programmer. It's very easy.
It's so cool how accessible it is. It's very exciting.
Yeah, they did a good job with that.
Yeah. Anything else you got? Or, I mean, should we just call it a quick episode? I might get some rest before I have to hit back to the conference stuff. You got something else? Fun?
Yeah, I have a fun, quick tidbit that doesn't really require much discussion. But to follow up on the Echo VR drama with Meta, the Echo community banded together, raised $3,000, and flew a plane over Meta headquarters that said "Save Echo VR," which I thought was funny. Like carrying one of those banners behind it. I thought that was sweet. But
that is funny. Did that? I can't imagine that did anything. I
do not think that did. I think their decision's pretty final. Bosworth is merciless in his execution.
Yeah,
he will not be swayed by their tears.
Hey, worth a shot of. I mean, I
don't know. Just a testament to how intense this community is, which is another like, geez, like why are you?
Yeah.
This is just going to create so much bad blood, but I guess whatever.
That is wild. Well, the saga continues. And next week I'll have more actual deets, most likely as well. So we'll see then. What the hell's happening with my hands right now? Can you see
your hands going through your head right now. And that's the operating system for you. There you go.
Alrighty. Good sesh.
Fix it, Meta.
Yeah, Meta, please.
All right, cool. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. Great sesh. Great show. We'll see you next week.
Peace.